Hello, this is Carson Cook, your CSO Pro, and welcome to the channel. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you won't miss any of our future uploads. Enjoy the video.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Again, my name is Carson Cook, and welcome back to the CSO Pro. And today we're going to be talking about a very, very important topic and a very big flaw that we have with young sales professionals, old sales professionals, and that's holding your client to a commitment. Now, we discuss this in a lot of different ways as far as for holding your client to a commitment, whether it's a time commitment, a commitment for your deal, a commitment for a date. Whatever it is, guys, the issue is that we have a lot of flaws with not wanting to be intrusive by asking your client to commit to things. And part of the sales process, or getting a sense of urgency built up with each client that you have in any sales process, is getting them to commit to small things as you go. Okay, so we're going to talk about 3 different things today to why holding someone to a commitment is super important, but then also how you can implement this in your sale with everything that you do, whether it's communication with your wife, your kids. You hold 2 commitments. The first one is going to be the trade system. There's no different in sales. Okay, we're going to talk literally about the trade system, the barter system, the system that everybody here knows about. Okay, why sales is in existence. We're going to talk about how you would align this with your sale. Some of the biggest problems we have is a solid and confirmed date and time. And then also, what do you do when you give a commitment for a solid date and time? The next point of communication, and that's going to be a recap of all the events and communication points that have taken place in your sale. Okay, so for the first thing, the trade system. Now, why do we hold people to commitments? Well, it's pretty simple. It's the same way people buy things, period. Okay, when you order a drink, you give them money, they give you the drink. When you buy a car, you take the car, they give you money. So the commitment is that I'm going to take my money and give it to them, and they're going to give me an item. Okay, it's a barter system, the trade system. Okay, whether it's money, whether it's gold, whether it's watches, whatever you're going to sell, it's going to be that for the currency or that for the thing of value. It doesn't even have to be currency, but it's a trade system, an eye for an eye. Okay, if I do someone a favor, naturally they're inclined to do me a favor. Okay, that process is exactly what's within the system. So if you're dealing with the client and you're not holding your clients accountable for commitments, then you're not moving forward. It's like a watch with no numbers on it. Okay, you're not going anywhere. It's turning from a discussion into a plan of action. It's taking a communication between you displaying a product and letting them make up their mind into a buying process, an actual process. And what I mean by process is you enter a client into a process. It goes with the start and then a finish. And the finish has the deal where you make your commission. So there's a thing that needs to happen and a timeline that needs to happen and an understanding of the timeline that needs to happen. Otherwise, you just turn yourself into a highly paid billboard. Okay, you're driving down the highway. Oh, that's nice. Okay, or oh, window shopping. That's nice. Okay, that's not what sales is. You're not highly paid billboards. We're highly paid communicators that deal with a certain process that we're professional with, and we move a client through that. So think about that when you need to hold your client to a commitment. Everything needs to be a commitment, an eye for an eye. I will do something for the client and they will do something for me. Okay, it's not all about me doing a bunch of stuff for a client, okay, because then, again, I'm a highly paid billboard. The billboard does everything for the client, right? And the client just drives by. That's it, just stands there. I'm not here to pass that information. I'm here to work through a process to earn a deal and to provide you with a product that's gonna help your company. So think about the trade system, the real system, currency, how do things interact, value is built. And that's gonna help you hold your customer every single time you interact with them to a commitment. What's next, what's next, what's next? If I do this, you do this, okay? X plus Y, right? If they're for, then for, right? Or whatever, right? So you do this, the customer does that, okay? The next thing, guys, is holding your client to a solid date and time. There's too many times where we have flaws in communication or flaws for the next point of communication. If you have to leave a customer or recap with the customer, you say, okay, well, they don't necessarily have their calendar in front. I'll call you later. They're never going to call you. Okay, you might have to follow up, but I never let a client get off the phone, and I never let them out of my sight until I have a next point of communication, which means that I will see you then. And then if they say, well, I can't tell you that right now, I don't have my calendar. Well, let's plan on something, because my schedule is also extremely important. I have a lot of things to do. You have a lot of things to do. Okay, so I can't leave an interaction to a phone call. Okay, I don't trust phone calls. All right, I trust you, but I don't trust phone calls. So we will meet on Thursday, Friday. What's the best for you? Next week, 2 weeks from now, find whatever it is at what point in time. Okay, so I can put it in my calendar. Okay, how about this? Let's just make up a fake one. Okay, the client says, I still can't do that, Carson. I can't commit to anything. How about this? Can you commit to my time then? I'm going to put you down for 12 o'clock at 12 o'clock on Thursday. I'm going to be here then to see you again. At that point, I want you to have a time where we can actually meet. I'll come in, you'll tell me yes or no, we'll put it down, and then I'll leave. Okay, or I'll call you at that time. Right? But we need a solid date and time before you get a phone call, before you get out of there, before you deface your client, you go away, and you come face to face again later. But you have to have a solid date and time for the next point of communication. It doesn't have to be the close, but it has to be the next point of communication. I need that in my books. The second thing is that when you get that date and time, the third thing that we have here, okay, clients have an issue, or a lot of sales professionals have an issue with taking communication for granted. So when you meet again with a customer, okay, on that solid date and time, you fail to remind them of what took place in the past communication that they had. Okay, now what do I mean by that? Is that you've gone through all sorts of effort, all sorts of work with a customer, and you've put all this stuff in play, you've built up emotion, but then you meet them again for the second time, and you're assuming they remember everything that you did. They probably don't even remember how they got to work this morning, or they remember they driving to work. Yeah, I drove to work today, but they don't remember every point about it. That's the unconscious mind driving them to work. So there's a good chance that they don't remember every little process that happened in that past meeting. So you have to do a recap. A recap of what happened in the last meeting, and then an introduction of what's going to happen in this meeting. Every single time you meet a client. Okay, so in helping your client get a commitment, or holding your client to a commitment, you have to remind them of the commitments that they've made and explain how you arrived at those commitments. You have to tell them, remember last time you said this, because we did this, this, and this, you said that you would call me at 3 o'clock, and you did call me, it's great, I'm here. If you remember in our last meeting, we accomplished this, we accomplished this, we accomplished this, and you said this and this, right? And they go, oh yeah, I remember, great. So I know we have a meeting today at 10, so what do you have for me now? Okay, so in this meeting, we're gonna do this, 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 and this. So I'm not assuming communication. I don't just come into the meeting and sit there and say, okay, so today we're gonna do this, this, and this, because that's steps 6 through 10 in the steps of the sale, but they don't remember steps 1 through 5. They forgot about them. So you need to recap those steps of the sale when you're holding your client to commitments, okay? That's why it's beneficial to do the whole thing in one sitting, the whole same day close, which is hard to do. That's because nothing's forgotten. If you have to break in between, you lose emotion, you lose memory, you lose all sorts of things in that sale. So if you have to, if it's a necessity, you need to hold your client to a commitment of a date and time, you get a second or third meeting. You have to recap what happened before. Even though you think that they know what happened before, you recap it, and you have to display what will happen in the future. So hold your clients to commitments, okay? And that's what gives value and a timeline to your process. Without commitments or timeline processes, like without a commitment on each thing that you do from your customer, you might as well just be giving out information. That's when deals could take 1 month, they could take 2 years instead of 1 hour. Because now there's no defined process that you're putting your client in, or that you're in with your client. You're not doing it. The only thing that will define your sales process is commitments, dates, and times and objectives. That's the only part that will make a real process, builds up a sense of urgency. So hold your client to commitments, and we'll see you soon.